Lowell, thanks for joining us today.
Hi.
Excited to hear your story. Been listening to your music. It's very cool. Um,
Thank you.
do you remember the first time you felt like you might want to do music for a living?
Uh, I don't think I really remember. I think it was probably when I was 5 or something. I
Yeah.
used to hum songs or make up songs for myself when I was walking, I think. I don't know.
Yeah. You were writing music already in your head? Just funny
I
songs?
think so. Although I think maybe I was just like singing songs I already knew or something.
Yeah.
I think I still do that, but I was like, I wrote this.
That's funny. It reminds me of there was an episode of The Simpsons, an old episode where Homer was saying, "Writing music's easy. I can make one up right now." And he goes, "Do do 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 do." And Marge is like, "That's just Mary Had a Little Lamb," and then he changes the do's to D's, and yeah, it's a funny part.
I mean, that's not far off
Yeah.
from a normal writing session.
So, was there a reason you think that you started getting into music? Were your parents into music? Did they put you in lessons or anything like that?
Actually, neither of my parents are musicians, but I think I had a perfect pitch, and
Mm,
we figured that out really early on. Like, I think by the time I was 4 or something. So my
hmm,
parents figured they should probably put me into piano or something like that. So,
mm.
yeah, I started piano really young and kept at it um, until I was like 15 or something. I mean, lessons.
That's such a cool skill. And for the more casual listener, perfect pitch is when you can basically identify a note just by hearing it. Um, so, how did they know that you had that ability?
I honestly don't know. I guess it's like I'm not sure if it's like obvious, like somebody I could like pick up a song on the piano or something that I heard like when I was really young, and like I would press the right note right away or something like that.
Ah, so you were able to play songs by ear pretty quickly.
Yeah. And I
Wow.
actually like kept doing that for a long time. I would learn my classical pieces by ear instead of reading the notes, which really frustrated my teacher, I think. I don't think you're practicing. I think you're just learning it.
Hey, you getting the job done one way or another, and
Yeah,
and,
exactly. I tried
and
to tell her that, but
so you start playing piano because your parents recognize this talent you have, this
mm-hmm.
natural ability. And where do things go from there?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that like through my teenage years, I was dealing with all the things that you feel when you're a teenager,
Hmm.
and so I started writing songs more seriously to cope. And I had a friend who died in high school, and that was really hard for me. And so I wrote a lot of music to deal with that, and kind of now it's still all the same music as my therapy. So.
Yeah. So in high school, were you getting pretty serious about your songwriting? Were you already thinking, "Hey, I want to put this out at some point"?
I don't, I don't, I wasn't sure really what I wanted to do, but I knew it was like something music based. But I actually started doing, when I went to university, I took classical music, so I wasn't sure I wanted to get into like pop or indie pop or whatever I do now. But and I thought about like I'm a creative writer as well, and I kind of wanted to like write musical theater or like I don't know. I wasn't sure, but I just knew I wanted it to be music. So.
So you go to college and you're studying classical music, you said?
Yeah, I was doing piano and opera of all things, and I
Mm.
hated it, so I dropped out very quickly. Um,
What did you hate about it? Because obviously you must have been interested in it to pursue it.
I mean, I don't hate opera. It was just a really intense program, and yeah, I don't want to like smack. It's like a bit pretentious for my
Mm,
personality. I'm very like
right.
I'm usually late for things, and like that's
Right.
my vibe. So it didn't really suit my personality.
Right. Very
But it was
formal.
helpful.
Yeah.
It helped with my range. I can sing really high now. So
Yeah, I bet. I don't know if this is true, but I heard the lead singer of Muse used to sing opera or something like that, and that's why he's got such an operatic voice, which it's a cool
that
story.
seems
It's
like a
true.
very believable
Yeah.
story.
So you kind of feel like you want to do something a little less formal. So what do you do after you decide that you don't want to study opera anymore?
Yeah, I was living in Toronto, so I'd been doing like open mics, and a lot of people had approached me and been like, "I really think you should do this for a career." And actually, a friend of mine from my university, he would perform with me, and we did like it's gonna sound funny, but like we would like improvise, write songs in front of people.
Mm.
And he's actually a really successful writer now too. He's Majid from Majid Jordan, but so he wrote Hold On, We're Going Home.
Ah,
But we
wow.
yeah, we would like sit, he probably would hate me for saying this, but we would like sit in this cafe at an open mic and rap battle on the spot, sing songs.
Yeah.
And write songs in front of people.
So would people give you topics or something like that, or would you find
Yeah,
things to talk about in the
sometimes.
bar or whatever, wherever it was?
Yeah, and we would start with like a pop song, like we'd start with like apple butter cheese and like make it songy, and then just go from there. And then we'd like pick out people in the crowd and be like, "You with the shirt and love." I don't know,
That
but it
sounds
was fun.
fun and impressive, to have to be brave enough to to have to come up with something on the spot.
Yeah, you could call it impressive. It was probably actually not good, but we're gonna call it impressive.
It's like karaoke for songwriters almost.
Yeah, a little bit. It's like I feel like freestyling is a muscle. I used to do it a lot, and I probably need to like get back into it because now it gets so like into my head, you know.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. I think the more you do it, the better you get, and you remember the words that rhyme a little bit better,
Totally,
if
and
you've been
also
to
like
it.
you don't second guess yourself. It comes faster. I feel like
Right, right.
there's no
So
like, is this good?
yeah,
It's just like, quick, you have 1 millisecond to think of a rhyme. It's good enough.
did I mean obviously he had some skills. So he went on to write the weekends. Just hold on, I'm coming home.
Drake,
Oh,
yeah,
Drake. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's
it's
a
good.
little early. But that's a huge. That's no small hit.
Yeah.
So so after that, you're having some fun doing. You kind of get out of the more formal music and start kind of having fun doing some more casual pop orientated stuff. How do you go from kind of doing fun freestyles and on the spot songwriting to making kind of I don't want to jump into the music you're making just yet because unless if there's something in between. But what happened after
Oh,
that?
there's definitely an in between. Like I've had a pretty long up and down kind of path compared to some of my peers. I think,
Hmm.
especially like considering that I'm still relatively young. But yeah, I kind of worked some shady jobs, like saved up. I really wanted to record an album, and I like learned how to record my own music, and so I made this kind of really quaint indie album. Um, and actually, funny enough, in Canada, we have this program where you can like take a get a free ride across Canada on the train. And I really wanted to go home. I was like all the way across on the other side of Canada. But the only way that you can get a free ride if you perform, but you can't plug an instrument in. And my main instrument at the time was piano, and so I had to learn like an acoustic instrument, and I didn't play guitar, so I learned how to play ukulele.
Ah,
Um, and so I made like all these kind of weird ukulele pop songs, and randomly the guy who had like recorded Jason Mraz, I'm Yours, and like Hey Soul Sister, he came across the demos that I made, and he was like, I love these ukulele pop songs. Ukulele pop is what I do. Do you want to come to London and like work on ukulele pop songs with me and write for other people and stuff? So he flew me to London. That was like within a year and a half of when I dropped out of school. So it was like pretty smooth sailing from there.
that's interesting.
It's a really long story, but I was
I've
like, I'm
heard.
getting somewhere.
Yeah, no, I've heard ukulele songs and I've heard ukulele used in pop songs, but I did not know that ukulele pop was something that I didn't know that was like a term.
I mean, it was just like a thing that was happening at the time. I don't like do it anymore, and I think like
Hmm.
at the I very quickly decided it was like not what I wanted to do, but it was like an interesting niche that I got into by learning that instrument.
Yeah. So you connect with this producer, and how did what came out of that? Did you actually put out an album with those songs that you guys compiled?
So I think I kind of decided I didn't want to do a ukulele pop album.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do something like a bit more indie, artsy kind of thing. So we did an album together, but it was like more, I think like Bjork influence kind of thing. And I did a
Mm-hmm.
lot of like art exhibits and stuff like that around Scandinavia and pursued this album. Um, and then, yeah, a Canadian label, like my favorite label in Canada, signed me, and I went back to Canada after
Wow.
that.
So how did they hear it? Did you just put it out and the right person heard it, or how did you guys get connected?
I had some of my music playing on BBC, just like some of the indie EP stuff that I put out independently, and the Guardian picked it up as like a you know good EP to listen to or whatever, like ones to
Nice.
watch or something. And I think that that was like a flag for some labels back home in Canada
Yeah.
and in America, but Canada's my home, so.
So it sounds like you were already getting some traction even before connecting with them. Was that a another turning point once you connected with your label, and were they able to take you maybe even a little further than you were?
Yeah, I mean, I released an album with that label, and it was like pretty critically acclaimed. It didn't like it wasn't huge or anything, but a lot of people said it was good. And then yeah, I think that I realized like at that time that I really wanted to write music for other people, and I was like I started developing this other artist in Canada, and that was going really well, so I pursued that a bit, and then now like a couple of years have passed, and here I am.
Yeah, was that first album the one that you have out right now on streaming services? We loved her dearly. Was
Yeah,
that the album? So
yeah,
that
exactly.
one did pretty well, and then a few years later you dropped Lone Wolf. So between those two albums, were you just writing a lot, or what were you up to in those few years between albums?
Yeah, so by the time I was making that second album, I was definitely like more doing a lot of pop writing for other people, and like writing a lot of stuff with this girl Bülow, who was doing really well in Canada.
Yeah.
And I kind of dropped Lone Wolf, just like I needed to release a record, and I had some songs on there kind of thing. I wasn't like super passionate about it, but I do like some of the music on there. But um I dropped it and then like moved to LA and was like I'm a pop writer now.
What made you want to come to LA? I mean, you're
um
obviously you were writing, so I was it for the network that's out here, so you can connect with other people to collaborate with.
yeah, I mean it definitely feels like to be a songwriter right now you have to be in LA or in Nashville.
Hmm.
And I probably specialize in like I don't know, I'm not like super country, not that you have to be country to be in Nashville, but like that style of writing isn't really my style, although like
Right.
I would like to go to Nashville at some point, but LA felt like the place. And I was getting like a little bit of people were calling because of Bülow doing relatively well in the US as well. And so I figured I would like use that wind. But yeah, the network out there is definitely like undeniable. Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, when you say relatively well, hey, for those listening, Lowell's cat just jumped in front of the webcam.
Yes.
um, when you say relatively well, that Bülow song went or album went double platinum, right?
Yeah, it did. It did really well. She won a lot of Junos, which is a Canadian version of the Grammys,
Uh-huh.
and sent to Republic, and um, has a great fan base. So
That must have been awesome to be part of a project that won, Canadian Grammys, basically.
Yeah, no, and Bülow is so talented too. I mean, I'm always chasing like the next person that's as talented as Bülow. She's just amazing, and um, it's it's fun to be part of a project from so early on. When I met her, she was 15 and still in school, and she was
Wow.
coming up on for spring break, and we were writing EPs together, and yeah, we still write together almost every day now. So
That's cool. And you also were part of something that went gold, Selfish by Madison Beer, right?
yeah, um, she I think after Bülow, she was like my next big project that I was really focusing on. I like to like do one thing at a time. So
Yeah. So you're writing with people. You dropped a couple albums, and you've started dropping singles again this year. Your newest single is Lemonade, which I think I was listening to. It has a really cool vibe. I think the uh, theme of the song is pretty obvious, but why don't you tell us a little bit about that song?
yeah, so I wrote that song in LA while I was doing like sessions every day with different writers, and I was just like in a creative wind, and usually I was writing like in the morning before I would go to my sessions. So I did that
Mm.
one, probably from like 10 to 11 or something
Mm.
on my way to another session.
You wrote it in
And
an hour, huh?
I
Just
wrote that song
just
so fast.
on the way to someplace else. Okay.
Yeah, and it's funny because I'm pretty meticulous when it comes to writing, and I obsess over like lyrics, and I'm just a super perfectionist. I can be a bit annoying to work with in that way, and it's just like it's kind of frustrating how quickly I wrote that song, and it's probably one of my favorites. But yeah, it's like it came really fast. Um,
Yeah, I've talked about that often. I think that a lot of times those are the best ones because they feel the most effortless, and when it works, it works, and that's probably why you didn't have to be so meticulous about it. But yeah, I've I remember in high school I had written a song, and it was so and I had worked really hard on it, and I showed it to my then band, and they were like, "Yeah, that's all right." And I was like, "Well," and I was like, "Here's some riff that I like just made up in a couple minutes," and they're like, "Oh, that one, that one's cool." It's just like,
yeah, there's definitely something to be said for like spontaneity or like a moment captured in time, and I feel like that's what music is. It's supposed to be like emotions captured, and I think sometimes when you talk about that emotion for too long, you can tire it out, and like I feel like the listeners do feel that as well. And it's
right,
like something, I mean, I'm still learning every day as a writer, but and I go through phases, like phases where I'm like, no, you need to spend 3 weeks on a song, or the other ones where I'm like, no, if you do it in 20 minutes, that will be the best. But right now, I feel like there's something to be said for like these really not overthought songs that, something like a Bene or like that Backyard Boy that's doing really well right now. Just the way that those are just, they kind of feel like they're freestyled. Um, back to the beginning of my story, but it's that like youthful feeling of just like raw emotion.
yeah, yeah, I love that. Um, I love Ben A's stuff. It does feel very, very casual and just fun and light. So
Yeah, and it's so smart. It's just not overthought.
right, totally. And yeah, I hear these stories of the Beatles, when they were just getting started, and they'd be kind of forced into the studio and just be like, you have to write like 3 songs today or something like that. And when I hear stories like that, it just kind of it reminds me how simple, writing can be. But of course, they had a great producer and everything, so that's a part of it. But I try to remind myself of that. So so Lemonade, you wrote it in L.A. On the way to on in between errands, it sounds like.
Hmm.
And what was the inspiration for it?
Um, I mean, a lot of things like emotionally, it's sometimes it's hard for me being in LA. Like I'm definitely an East Coast person,
Mm-hmm.
and I love my home, Toronto, and I think that I wasn't exactly feeling like optimistic on that day or whatever, and I think I was getting a pep talk from my boyfriend, and he's like, yeah, everything's gonna be okay, and I think I was just like, how can you say that? Like, we're gonna have
Mm-hmm.
to be long distance forever.
Right, right.
Feeling very dramatic,
Uh-huh.
as songwriters are. And so I think that was the main inspiration. Funny enough, also, like, the concept, just like the word lemonade and then making that into a song, I had actually tried like making this a pop, very, very poppy pitch song for some other artists, and it was terrible. Like, it was just like such a bad song. I can't remember. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think I was like reffing like holiday, but I was like lemonade.
Nice.
And I went home and I was like, well, that was bad, but I think the concept's cool. And then the next day I made the better lemonade.
And so lemonade, we're basically talking about making lemonade out of lemons, right? That's kind of
Yeah,
the
you got
metaphor.
it.
Yeah. Right. So all right. So your boyfriend gave you some he was reminding you that you can make lemonade out of lemons, and a little
Yeah.
bit of inspiration there.
I mean, it's also like it's a commentary on like I've thrown this around a lot, but the toxic positivity, but just like sometimes you just want to feel really not good about things.
Uh-huh.
And everyone's like, no, smile, you'll be fine, you're
Uh-huh.
doing great, and you're like, just let me have my moment, please. I
Right,
want
right.
to relish in my agony.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, sometimes you got to go low, get back up.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've had a amazing career so far, writing double platinum and gold records for other artists, and you know you've had immense success as well. I was listening to you on Spotify earlier, and you got millions of streams on a lot of your songs here. So what's next after Lemonade? Do you have a few more singles? Are you coming out with an EP or an album?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, after spending, you know, the last couple of years writing for other people, I've managed to scrounge up some of my own thoughts just for me. So I have basically an album's worth of just like my own things. They're mostly not co-written, which is weird because mostly I do co-write with other people, but um and yeah, it's some of my favorite stuff that I've ever done. So I'm really excited to put it out in the world and have people hear kind of where I'm at now.
Yeah. When do you have a rough release date for any of that?
Yeah, I mean, my plan is just to keep releasing singles like once every couple months or whatnot, just like keep them coming out, and then probably an album by the summer or something like that.
Nice. Okay. Any other singles this year?
Yeah, I have one coming out in December
Nice.
when we're feeling really cold and sad.
Yeah. How do you feel? Because I feel like I hear about this a lot in the music industry, that the holidays can be an awkward time to release music, because you're kind of competing with Christmas music or travel time. Uh, are you thinking like early December, or does that not really come into your considerations?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a good point. I think that this is going to be a weird Christmas for
Yeah.
everyone,
Uh-huh.
because of COVID. And I think that like this song is like, it's a pretty emotional ballad. I think that I mean, it really makes me feel something. So like, I think that it'll make other people feel something, and hopefully it'll like provide some support for people that are not able to do their usual holiday things. But yeah, I'm definitely trying to like make sure people don't think it's a Christmas song or anything.
Okay. Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Lowell. If you had one piece of advice to give to aspiring artists, what would it be?
Definitely just keep going. Like, my story is I think insane, but it's just a bunch of ups and downs, and if you're not, yeah, I don't know, just don't give up. Just keep going.
Right. Persistence. Keep doing
Mm-hmm.
it.
I really think if you just keep doing it, you'll get there. You'll get good enough. People will gain respect for you eventually.
in a bad world.